here from Compass Property Investing with Doug. We're just about to introduce you to part 4 of our series Investing Made Easy. Doug, tell us a little bit about it. What's involved?
It's a very interesting segment, this one, because we're going to talk about two things that really impact a person's ability to invest. First one is the tax benefit. A lot of people don't understand, why would the government give me a tax break to invest in property? So we're going to talk about that. There's very good reasons why the government will do that. It's actually a win-win situation for the investor, and it's a win-win situation for the tax department as well. We're also going to look at equity. What a lot of people don't understand, they might be cash poor and they don't believe they can invest in property, but very often they've got hundreds of thousands of dollars locked up in equity in their property. So they need to release that equity. They need to have that equity out in the marketplace working for them. And so we can help them do that. We can show them the process and take them through that entire process. To help them on their way.
Doug. That is something you do very well, and I know what you've got installed. So listen in now for part 4. Investing Made Easy.
Hi, it's Doug here for Compass Property Investing, and welcome back to the 4th in our series on Investing Made Easy. In the last video, we talked about two very different kind of assets. We talked about assets that will depreciate in value. In other words, they'll become less valuable over time. Things like televisions, cars, boats, jet skis, mobile phones, etc. We also talked about the importance of investing in assets that will appreciate or become more valuable over time. Now, this is one of the keys to long-term financial security, so it's extremely important that we understand the principle. If all of your income is going into things that will be less valuable or even worthless in 5 to 10 years' time, then you could be headed for a financial train wreck somewhere down the track. So this is really a good time to take a look at where your money's going and examine all the possibilities that are available to you. Also, in the last video, I mentioned the fact that the government is keen for people to invest in residential property, and they back that up by offering to reduce the amount of tax we're currently paying to help us in the process of buying an investment property. We know the government is not doing that out of the goodness of their heart, right? I mean, there has to be something in it for them. Well, there's a number of reasons, but the main one is their need to provide accommodation for a growing population. From 1990 through to 2017, the Australian population increased by a massive 40%. And in just 12 months, from March 2016 to March 2017, our population increased by 389,100 people. And that's according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics. The fact is that the government simply cannot afford to build enough properties to house hundreds of thousands of new arrivals. So they give substantial tax breaks to people who invest in residential property. It just makes good financial sense to them. And it gives us, the investor, a way to reduce our tax and help us secure our financial future. So it's a win-win situation. We get to have substantially less tax, and we also get to build an asset that grows over time, and the government gets to solve or potentially solve the housing problem. It's a win-win situation. So let's take a few minutes to look at the nuts and bolts of investing. Firstly, let's talk about equity. Many first-time investors simply don't have enough cash deposit to purchase an investment property. Many do have sufficient equity in an existing property. Equity is simply the difference between the current value of your home and your existing mortgage. For example, if your home is valued at, say, $450,000 and you have a mortgage of $320,000, that gives you equity of $130,000. And the good news for you is that could be enough to facilitate a deposit on an investment property based on your equity without having to spend the next 5 or 10 years trying to save up a deposit. Secondly, that brings us to the loose change principle. In other words, taking a small amount of money each week and investing it in something that history tells us is going to increase in value, in this case, property. Now, an investment property will have one of 3 outcomes. It'll either be cash flow positive, cash flow neutral, or cash flow negative. And although many investment properties are cash flow positive, some do require a small weekly top-up, and that could be as little as $20, $25 or $30 a week. In other words, loose change. To put it in perspective, that's not much more than a coffee a day. There are a number of variables that will ultimately determine whether a property is cash flow negative, positive, or neutral. Things such as interest repayments on the loan, council rates, insurances, the amount of rent you receive, the amount of depreciation that you can claim against that property, and also your current marginal tax rate. Now, I can't get into the detail of that right here because every individual case is different. To get an accurate picture of your individual situation, I suggest talking to one of our finance experts because they can give you a professional analysis of your individual situation. Here's a quick summary of what we've spoken about today. There are basically 4 reasons that people invest. Firstly, property is the lowest risk with the most predictable return of any investment out there. Australians have a long-term love affair with property because we understand property. We understand that it's an appreciating asset. The second reason to invest in property is to legally minimize the amount of tax you're paying. The government has made these tax breaks available, so why pay more tax than you need to? The third reason people invest is to put their equity to work. Having equity in your home is like having $100 or $120 or $200,000 locked up somewhere in the house. Let me put it this way. If you open the kitchen drawer tomorrow morning and found $100,000 sitting there, what would you do? You wouldn't just leave it sit there and walk away, right? Hopefully you'd be wise enough to invest it into something that was going to increase in value. Having equity and not putting it to work is high on the list of financial sins. The fourth reason people invest, and this is a big one, is not only to secure their own financial future, but also the future of their children. More and more people I speak to are coming to the realization that by the time their children get to 20 or 22 years old, the dream of them owning their own home could well be out of reach for them. So I hope you got some useful information and inspiration out of this. In the next video, I'm going to be talking with Tim Allwood. Tim is the director of Compass Property Investing, and as well as being an all-round good bloke, he has a wealth of experience in this industry, and he's going to be answering some of the most common questions people have about property investing. Until we meet next time, have a fantastic day, and look forward to talking to you again.
Thanks, Doug. That was really, really informative, especially the part there. I love when you talked about the equity, and people leaving the equity, as I say, in the cupboard at home and going out and working hard, and they just don't realise, I hear it so many times, not realising what they can do. So, people just got to inquire to learn what you can do. Now, next week, our final in the series, we're going live, Doug.
I know.
Q&A, question and answer, live with Doug and Tim. So put your comments and your questions in below so we can have some questions to answer. And nothing like doing it live.
True.
So that'll be exciting. That's next Wednesday at 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock down south. So thanks again, Doug, and stay tuned for next week for the final.
Pleasure.
Have a good day.